Hey everybody, welcome back to Battle Ready Inc. So in BT5, I experimented a lot with security control. I played it a pretty good amount, but it always came back to the same thing, that I was very much a win fast, lose fast type of player. So security control was really slow for me. But with BT6, as well as the new starter decks that are coming out afterwards, we've got a lot of cool stuff that goes into this deck that makes it so much faster. So hopefully the days of going to time just round after round in a tournament where people, when they see what you're playing, they just groan to themselves because they know how slow of a deck it is. Hopefully that is going to be going away here soon. And with the new cards that we have available, this deck is about to get a whole lot faster, so that way we can kind of enjoy ourselves a little bit more, and hopefully our opponents enjoy it as much as we do as security control players. Don't forget, our memory marker for this month is the Egg of Miracles here. This is our clay prototype that we have so far. Once we finalize this and get a version that we like, we'll do a cast of this, and then all ones afterwards will be resin copies of it. So if you want to get one of these, like I said, this is our Patreon for the month of November. If you'd like any of our previous memory markers, though, check the coffee link in the description below, and there you can get access to all the previous memory markers that we've had on the channel before. The benefit, though, of going through Patreon is you get the current memory marker a whole month early before it even goes live for sale on Coffee, as well as sometimes you can get them a little bit cheaper if you go through Patreon. So let's go ahead and jump into this deck. Immediately we have switched back and we're using our yellow eggs again. In BT5 we used a whole lot of red stuff. In BT6 though, depending on the build that you're using, you can cut out pretty much all the red options entirely and still be in a really good position. So I'm going to show you a couple different builds that I've got, 3 different builds in fact. At the end I'll show you the 3 different ones all side by side, but in this first one here, I think this is the strongest out of all the builds that I made. I like this one the most, and it is a yellow-black focus. So we've got Upamon here as our egg, as well as Salamon. Salamon's going to give us some recovery. Again, in security control, recovering security is always great. At any time that you can recover security, it's always good. So if you have 3 or fewer when it dies, you get a recovery. This is great because it allows us to go a little bit more aggro. So we can Evo into this on top of our Upamon and then swing, possibly get some recovery, as well as we just get to go a little more aggro. We get a free security check, essentially, off of out of this Salamon, and that's great. That's what I was talking about in the beginning of the video. We're trying to go a little bit quicker. We want to do a little bit more damage rather than just kind of stall and wait for time. You win one game and then you just stall game 2 until time. Like, that is not a strategy that anybody wants to play or have played against them. So let's actually win, as the game is intended. So getting some security checks is going to be great, as well as I went with Upamon just because drawing in a deck where you don't do a whole lot of evoing, is very limited. Granted, we don't have big turns where we play a whole lot of cards. We typically only get to play 1 card per turn in a deck like this. So our hand resources, they are limited, but we don't burn through too much all at once. But Upamon just kind of helps us get more cards in our hand. So yeah, all about the draw power for sure. Next up, we have our 2 new security Digimon, and this is what is like the game changer for this deck. Absolutely, these 2 guys alone is the game changer that speeds up this deck tremendously. You get to just throw these guys out onto the field when they get hit in security, and now you got these 5,000 DP, you can swing into security, and you can maybe swing over something relatively weak on the field, whatever the situation calls for. This allows you to go a little bit more aggro, and the reason we never played other security Digimon in previous formats is because besides getting a Digimon on field, they had no secondary value at all. These guys, though, are awesome. So we got Geogramon first, and on play, trigger, draw 2. So think back to, what was it, Vikemon, that you on played for 7 cost to draw 2? Yeah, so now we get a draw 2 on a 6 play cost, and it also, if it gets hit in security, gets to play for free, and we still get to get its on play effect. That is great. So this is, again, helping out with our drawing issue of this deck. Can be limited, so, being able to slam this guy out there to draw some. Even on those turns where you have nothing else to do, your opponent puts you to 3, you don't want to just pass turn and put them at 3 memory for free without playing something. You got one of these guys sitting in your hand, slam it down, draw 2 cards, get a body on field. I mean, it's just going to rot in your hand otherwise. So it gives you something to do on those awkward turns when you don't have a target to, destroy or something like that. He's a good secondary, just, play something this turn. Next, we got Geogramon. Same argument as everything else that we discussed, but his on-play effect instead of drawing is delete one of your opponent's Digimon with 4,000 DP or less. That's a whole lot of level 4s. A lot of level 4s that have really good inheritables are 4,000 DP. That are level 4s, as well as just lots of rookies. Rookies will always be kind of a thing to deal with at any point in this game. There will always be rookies on field pretty much, so you're always going to have pretty good chances to pop something. Memory blockers, whatever that, whatever it may be. Things like Jessmon, where they slam down that Huckmon to search for something and it passes their turn. You can pop a Geogramon down out of your hand and pop something, or if they swing in with their Jessmon and they play those blocks, and then they hit into a Geogramon. That Geogramon comes out and then boom, pops that block immediately. So there's a whole lot of value out of these guys. Definitely loving both of these. Maxed out 4 for each of them. I tried building without the Geogramon and it just didn't feel right. Like the Corgimon to draw 2, absolutely. I tried, maybe the Geogramon just wasn't quite fitting. No, you really want the security Digimon, and a security Digimon that also plays in your strategy of controlling your opponent's board. Like Geogramon feels so perfect for that. Next up, we got a lot of our more classic stuff here. First, we got Magna Angebond. This is, again, besides the Corgimon of just, slam something down on the field to pass turn when you don't have anything else, solid. This is your other one besides Corgimon, which is Recover 1. This would probably be the more ideal one because recovering is like the name of the game in this deck. Recover and put terrifying things into your security, and that's what he's here for. Absolutely. As I hit my mic. Next, we got Magna Angebond, and I did drop the Magna Angebond down to 3. Anyone worth their salt knows that you don't swing into security control and put them at 3 or less more than often. Unless you plan on killing them that turn, there's no point. So you can really kind of brick on the Magna Angebonds. If you get too many in hand, it can become an issue. So I did cut down on that one, as well as I cut the Lucymons. One of my strategies was Magna Angebond, if I hard play it or Digivolve it on top of the Magna Angebond, which you could do, and I attack and I got to play a level 3 Digimon from my hand, I'd play the Lucymon. I'm not playing Lucymon in this particular build, but that was kind of one of the strategies that I would work with. So Magna Angebond at 4 made sense then. But here, it's just, you want a couple, right? You want to have one in your hand pretty much at all times for emergency situations. But most of the other time, you're just kind of using your option cards to control the field. That's what your name of the game is for you. And then when your opponent just puts you in that awkward spot where they can't finish you, say they hit in, and that second to last option is a big board wipe of some type. Then next turn you go Magna Angebond to heal up. So you have to have it in the deck. Absolutely is essential for this deck. There's going to be always times where they just can't finish you off, or if you just play someone that doesn't really know how to work against security control and they just keep putting you at low security, then you're always going to want to play this guy. Next up, we got Defeat 4 again, same thing, security Digimon all the way. We love these things. This gets hidden security and brings out, and this is like your beat stick. Once this guy hits the table, that's it. Your opponent's kind of on a countdown, right? If they deal with it, they probably going to lose a whole lot of value because his on deletion effect, you get to delete any Digimon on your opponent's side of the field. So, typically they don't want to destroy this guy. In a lot of games, you just don't want to touch a defeat. You just let the defeat do its own thing. It's usually only checking one security check at a time, so you're on a bit of a clock. You can always block it, and no repercussions. But once he hits the field, though, your opponent starts sweating. And at 4 absolutely love it. No when Digivolving effect in this build because we're not going to play any level 6s, purple or black in this particular build. But in another build that I'm going to show you using Bill Starmon, you can Digivolve, and deleting Tamers is going to be super essential in this format. I think if you can play a card that can delete Tamers, absolutely, because things like the mat that allows for the whole bonds play to happen, you delete that mat, and they can't warp Digivolve into Bond's Gabumon. And that's really good. So making sure to control the field by just deleting tamers, deleting the mats. Defeat can really come in handy on that in a different type of build. Next, we got Tactical Retreat. With all these security Digimon we're playing, Tactical Retreat really having great benefits. Absolutely. One play cost to put these two guys back in security, absolutely. If for whatever reason, if I got value out of them, they hit, they came to the field, I drew cards, I popped something, maybe on my turn I swung over like a rookie or something, a suspended rookie, and pop that rookie, and then go into Tactical Retreat for one to put them back into security. Essentially, that's kind of like recovering in a way. You get to recover it as well as you get to activate those on-play effects a second time. So much value in that, absolutely. So one play cost to do that, but the security effect, recover. It's like, how amazing is that? Is instantly a holy wave in your security. And so at a 3 of, I felt really solid on this. We'll get to the end. I'm one card short in this deck, and I couldn't quite place my finger on where I wanted to add in one more copy of a card. Tactical Retreat, definitely feeling pretty good, though, as a possible, because it has a great security effect, as well as just the main effect is pretty awesome. You can even argue throwing in these guys. Once they, have their on-play effects and they do their thing, besides maybe crashing into security and hitting one time, they might not have a whole lot of value. 6,000 DP into security is not exactly, the best, but you could always argue, just recovering this guy into security. And then when your opponent swings, they know they have to get over that 6,000 DP body. So maybe, always things to think about for sure. Next up, we have our yellow options, okay? First up, we have the new Reinforcing Memory Boost, and this is the one out of BT6 here, and this is reveal the top 2 cards of your deck. Place one on top of your security, face down, and the other card gets to go to your hand. Okay, this is the same cost as Holy Wave. Holy Wave recovers 1. This card recovers 1 and puts a card in your hand. But the thing is, you get to pick. So you get to see 2 cards. Your opponent gets to see them also, so there is a bit of a drawback. You get to see 2 cards. You get to pick which one is going to be, like, game-changing if it goes to security. That's the one you put in security, other one add to hand. Or if you're in a situation where, like, okay, this card going to my hand is going to be absolutely, essential for my next turn, I need to add this to hand. I can't wait for my opponent to hit this in security. I need to play this as soon as possible. I'm going to add this to my hand and just recover whatever the other thing was into security. You can do that. As well as it has delay, gain 3 memory on this one. A lot of the delay effects are only 2 memory, so this one being at a 3 of is really cool. It is a 6 play cost, but again, it's essentially the same as Holy Wave, but you get a pick. And you get to pick one card to go to security and one in your hand. That's so awesome. And then the security effect is a little more lackluster than Holy Wave, but it does go into the battle area for you to use that delay and gain 3 memory later. Again, for the most part in this deck, memory isn't really something we're like desperately trying to get our hands on. We typically play one card and pass turn. That's just how this deck just operates. Next up, we have Holy Wave, of course, and trigger, recovery 1. So 6 play cost, recovery 1. Security effect, though, is activate the main effect. So even if it gets hit in security, we still get that recovery, and that's so awesome. It just turns, your opponent swings in expecting to need to clear through for security, and then boom, they hit into a Holy Wave, and it's like, okay, well, they didn't even move. I wasted that attack. I don't have as many attacks as I thought I did now, so now I can't go for game. Holy Wave, just an awesome card. Almost like a deck thinning tool in a way. You recover and you get that security back, but that at the same time, you don't lose, you get to put more stuff back into security. So you get to stay at the same as what you were, but you increase the chances of putting something good into your security. Next, we got Wyvern's Breath, and this is essentially Yellow's version of Gaia Force. So one of your opponent's Digimon gets minus 15,000 DP for the turn. Awesome. That's killing pretty much everything. If you're playing, depending on when you're playing it, you got to be kind of careful. If this, this is awesome because it has a security effect where you could activate its main thing, which Glorious Burst was like the old one that, it didn't get to activate in security, which was a real bummer, and that's why, we never ran that card, is because it couldn't trigger in security. This card can. Now, minus 15,000, if your opponent hits this in security, a lot of red decks get a massive buff on their turn. So it can be kind of iffy if it's going to be powerful enough to finish off whatever it hits. 15,000 is still huge, though. Okay, so they need probably a pretty good amount to get through that. So like Jesmon, they're going to need several things on field to get the buffs that it needs to be high enough to survive hitting this. But even after they hit this, they lose that 15,000, and so then they're checking, with a 1,000 DP Jesmon into security for like +2 security or whatever it is they're hitting for, however many security checks. So if they hit any of your security Digimon, they're gonna die. So it is pretty awesome. That's a really niche scenario, but still, great card. Loving it. So we have 12 yellow options in the deck, or sorry, 12 main ones, and then the tactical retreat's kind of on the side, so 15. This is why I went with the yellow babies, particularly because we have the most options cards in our deck are yellow, so being able to make sure we can ensure that we get those yellow options played at all costs when they're in our hands. Whatever your option cards that you have the most of in your hand is probably what you should go for your babies. Next up, we got our blacks, though, and our blacks are more limited in this deck in the numbers, so I went with black tamers because that's the easiest way to ensure that they get to be able to trigger. And Izzy and Joe Duo Tamer is just really awesome. Start of your turn, if your opponent has 2 or more Digimon, gain 2 memory. Like, that's so easy. Your opponent can play around it a bit, but if they play around this, they're hurting themselves so bad. So most of the time, most players don't play around this just because it's so suboptimal that they can't afford to do that. Also, on the opponent's turn, when one of your black Digimon is deleted, you can suspend this to draw one. Not gonna be relevant for this deck. We're not playing any black tamers, so this is essentially just a way for us to gain bonus memory. If you get multiples of these on field, you can gain a whole bunch of memory, and it's just mainly we needed a black tamer to be able to use our black options. This is the only one that like really fit the bill. You could maybe argue using the regular memory fixer Izzy instead, which allows you to stack the top of your deck, which in BT5, let me tell you, that was awesome. This guy hitting in security and stacking my deck and then hitting a holy wave at the exact time I needed to put something like incredible into security. Yeah, it's such a cool combo. But the gain memory is so easy on this one that I'm all about it. So a 4 for our black tamers, because you got to get your tamers as soon as possible. You need at least one black tamer ASAP to be able to start playing your option cards. And these are the option cards I went with for black. I think this is probably the biggest flex area of the deck. Like, all the yellow stuff and the security Digimon feels pretty solid on where it's at. At this point, though, I think is where you can really get into a lot of security control like debates on what is the proper ratios, what colors you should be playing, that sort of thing. I got Ultimate Flare here, just at a 2 of. I think it's like viability has really gone down this format. I don't think that we're going to have as much Rookie Rush this format. I say as much. Like, there's still maybe a good amount. I don't think there's going to be as much. It is nice because it pops all level 3 Digimon, and it's not like DP restricted, and I think that's always important. Lots of rookies have like 5,000 DP, which dodges a lot of stuff. This is just a play cost of 3 or less. It gets to pop. So full field wipe. If you're looking at the Rookie Rush version of Bond's Gabumon, this is going to be a great card to use against that. You're going to de-digivolve that Bond's Gabumon. It says by 3. You only need to do it by 1, though, okay? Because he's going to go from that level 7 straight into that little baby Gabumon rookie, and then Ultimate Flare is going to kick in and just completely burn their whole field of everything. So Ultimate Flare has got a lot of uses, I think. Like, it's still really good. I think it's still definitely worth running. And again, we have one spot in the deck that we can bump up. This might be a really good one to look at, depending on what the meta is. Even if this gets hit in if Jesmon swings into it and it gets hit, de-digivolve that Jessmon down to a rookie, and then wipe the field. All those sister mons that it played, all those blocks, pop all those Huckmons and everything else that's on field. Ultimate Flare just takes care of it all. Next, though, we have Gwalt Schwarmer. This is for those 3 Musketeers decks, and this is just may delete all Digimon with a play cost of 7 or less. Just a big, fat board wipe. I mean, it's so nice. The thing is about this deck, we don't have a whole lot, that it's going to be dealing with. It can handle our security Digimon, our Magna Angebonds, maybe our Salamons if we're in those weird situations. It can hit and delete your Salamon and actually triggers your Salamon to recover, which is pretty nice. But those things that I described, those are meant to die. I mean, typically, we're going to rush those into security and just, anyway, they're going to die in security pretty much all the time. I mean, we're counting on them to die. So when Gwalt Schwarmer goes off, typically we don't actually have anything on field that it can kill of our own. But there's plenty of things that's level 5s and below. That's a huge, wide array of things. Again, the only thing that it doesn't really work against is like a Jessmon deck. It doesn't hit Jessmon itself, but it kills off everything that Jessmon's brought to the field. It's big, like, support team of sister mons and everything like that. It wipes them all out. Bond's Gabumon, any additional rookies that it has on field, it wipes them all out. Great card. 3 of for this. Again, just a keeping a low count of some of these, but I'm trying to go wide. I want a nice spread of different things so I can handle different situations. If I draw into these cards and I get the option to play them when I want to, I would like to have a nice big spread in my hand of different cards rather than like multiple copies of the same card. Next, we got Iron Fisted Onslaught as our last card of the deck here, and this is just main. Delete all of your opponent's Digimon with the highest play cost. So if your opponent swings in with something big, you get to pop that big thing. So Jessmon is going to die instantly to this. Bond's Gabumon is going to die instantly into this. Great, awesome. So against those decks, it's working perfectly. But think about other decks, like Rookie Rush swings into this, and they have a full field of like 3 play cost Digimon, right? And it swings into this. I mean, that's like hitting into an Ultimate Flare almost. This one card is going to wipe out all their 3 play costs all at once. It says whatever's the highest. So if they have like a level 4, that level 4 is going to eat it. But in those situations where it doesn't, you just get to do that big board wipe. Feels really good. So just a 2 of, though, it works against, it works against every deck. It just hits some a little bit harder than others, and some can kind of be a little lucky and avoid it in like the best ways they can. But yeah, I just really like the nice spread overall of everything in the deck. So gonna zoom out so you can kind of see the whole deck here, and this is what we're working with at the end. We've got a nice field of Digimon this format. So I mean, that's a lot of Digimon in security control deck. That's what makes this deck so much faster. Is we have tons of recovery in this deck of all different ways to recover. That's awesome. We have some powerful removal. We've got Wyvern's Breath, Ultimate Flare. All of our black stuff is all about removal. Now, again, we don't have the red in here, and red also has a whole lot of powerful stuff. So I did want to show a red build that I did come up with, and this mainly is using the red stuff instead of black. I think it's really difficult to manage a triple color security control deck. It just gets so bricky. If you've tried it, I feel like only people that have actually really sat down and played a whole lot of security control kind of understand what I mean. Rather than the people just theory crafting about security control, playing multiple colors gets dang difficult, depending on what you're trying to accomplish. So I went with red here as our babies, or as our rookies. Sorry, as our babies and as our rookies. Simply because I didn't like the red tamers at all. I didn't like the red tamers, and because we're playing an even spread of 12 and 12 options, I gotta really just pick what I wanted. Do I want yellow tamers, or do I want red tamers, or do I want red babies or yellow babies? it just came out to I like the yellow tamers more than the red. They do a little bit more for the deck. TK here, memory fixer, that's cool. Also on play, look at my security, and I get to pull something useless out of there and then recover something else. Now, to get that recovery, it has to be yellow. We do have like I said, a nice big spread of yellow stuff. Like the reinforcing memory boost, out of all the yellow options we have, it's definitely the weakest in security, but it is a fantastic on play effect. So you can pull something like this out. Pull your yellow Digimon out. Like these don't need to be in there. Pull them out to recover with TK, and then slam them down and recover something else in there. Then we got the TK and Kari here, and if you have fewer security cards than your opponent, gain 2 memory. We recover so much that we can put ourselves above our opponent pretty easily. That Magna Angebond, like turn 1, put yourself at 6. Sorry, I got that backwards. So we got TK and Kari here, and the name of the game is to delete all your security and then win, right? So your opponent has to get you low eventually, and then TK and Kari will just trigger immediately as soon as that happens. Also, your turn, when one of your yellow Digimon attacks, you can suspend it to have one of your opponents lose 1,000 DP. Not a super big buff or anything, but there are instances where 1,000 DP rookies are sitting out there, so just swinging in with a Magna Angebond or a Magna Angebond and getting to pop one of those, I mean, that's kind of cool. So I just went with an even spread. Now, this isn't the best, this is kind of, tricky to trigger these guys, but they did feel better and more powerful than the ones I was looking at for red. Now, if you have a good argument for running a red tamer, definitely let me know. I looked at Marcus just for the Geogramon, and I can't remember if he triggers on the Omnimon or not. I think it's just the Geogramon. But if you just swing with that, you could gain a memory back. And that was the only one that really felt like I could use. Now, as far as the babies here, I went with the Koromon. Honestly, it was really difficult. There's not a good red baby that works. You can maybe argue something that gives you a little bit of a DP buff in those certain situations, like if you're swinging at a Digimon or for swinging at a player, you get a buff. But I like the draw cards. We run the draw cards for yellow, so I went with Koromon for drawing again. Now, it only works on Greymon here. So you have to, in those instances where you draw into Geogramon, you can Digivolve him on top of your rookies here. And that's pretty cool. You can Digivolve him on top of your rookies and then swing, trigger the Koromon. So you're going to get a draw for the Evo and then a draw for the swing off the Koromon. As far as the rookies, though, I think there's a pretty good argument for all of these guys. First, we got Gilmon, more draw power. When attacking, draw 1. Cool, awesome. So, we can always kind of guarantee we're going to get some sort of draw going on here with Gilmon. I think he's definitely my number 1 choice. That's why I've got him at a 2 of here. The Agumon Expert's kind of interesting, though, because you can Digivolve him, or you can just on play to recover back an Agumon Expert that's already died, so you can just keep cycling these guys. That's definitely something you can kind of look at. It's like a free security check. You're just going to on-play this guy, and the next turn you're going to swing with it and just crash into security. 1,000 DP, he's not going to do anything but just check a security. And then we got the Biomon here, the blocker. So it is a 0-cost Evo, which is perfect because that's where we want to be. 0-cost Evo on top of the Koromon, and it's blocker. That all right, cool. Well, I guess why not? Now, this is security control. You kind of do want your opponent to hit into your security, and I'd also rather have a Digimon that can attack, a rookie that can attack. This one can't attack at all. So I think Gilmon is definitely my preferred rookie for sure, because we get more draw power out of him. And then the last little bit down here of what we're running for red, of course we got Gaia Force. Gaia Force is a beast of a card. Then we got Atomic Blaster, which is choose any number of your opponent's Digimon whose total DP adds up to 8,000. So you can either pop an 8,000, pop a 7,000 and a 1,000, pop 4 2,000 DP Digimon, whatever kind of combination you want. I've seen this thing clear some pretty, really unique, interesting fields, and it hits pretty solid. 5 play cost isn't the worst to play from hand to, really combat D Brigade. This is a really good D Brigade kind of clearing card. So definitely liking Atomic Blaster for sure. So add a 4 for that. And then this is where it kind of gotten a bit of a debate on myself. Transcendent Sword, popping 11,000 DP stuff. So it's kind of like a mini Gaia Force. It's one less than Gaia Force, but it has more of a stipulation. Pop 11,000 DP. That's going to be most like relevant megas. But also, in addition to that, your defeat can trigger this to make it a 15,000 DP. And at that point, you're actually killing like actual legitimately powerful, insane stuff. So I really like the Transcendent Sword. It's got a lot of potential here with the defeat, as well as just being able to pop 11,000 DP megas. Is always going to be pretty solid. But I think there was definitely argument for Trident Revolver here. So it's kind of awkward, right? So you're playing Trident Revolver to pop something 6,000 DP. Not crazy or anything, but you get to play a Tamer card. And since we're trying to get our yellow Tamers into play this format, I kind of like this to be able to play it. In previous formats, I did Trident Revolver with my red baby to play out my black Izzies. In this format, I'm doing Trident Revolver to bring out my yellow Tamers. So it's always to bring out the other color. So if I'm running Trident Revolver, it probably means that I'm running red babies. I'm not going to run Trident Revolver if I'm not running red babies, because Trident Revolver is literally here to bring out other colors. And that's what the whole point of it was. And so I wasn't quite sure if I wanted to go out on these. Maybe like a split of 2-2 here. Just a little bit of, to help get your yellows into play. You got to get those yellow Digimon or your yellow Tamers in play, because you need to be able to start playing these cards, these yellow ones, from hand as soon as possible. So being able to just get Tamers on field is pretty essential. And then the last build that I've got here is the Beal Starmon build. I think this is a pretty fun and unique build. I will say, though, that I think it's a weaker one, honestly. I know a lot of people are hyped for this. I'm hyped for this. I want Beal Starmon just to run it in this deck. I'm not only have plans of playing Musketeers, but I want to play this version of Security Control because it looks like a lot of fun. We maxed out on the Gwalt Schwarmers here because we can play it off the Beal Starmon. Happy Bullet Showering, we have in here because we can play it off the Beal Starmon, as well as long as we have a Geogramon, it is alive. Now we only have it a 2 of here simply because it is a little more tricky to get off. We can't just play it blindly whenever. So if you have one in your hand, it's got to kind of sit there until the time comes that you can play it, and just main delete all of your opponent's Digimon with the lowest EP. So again, those rookie rush decks where they bring out a whole lot of little things, as long as those DPs are matching, you can clear a whole bunch of things all at once. So it's a card you got to time out really well, because you don't want to just burn 7 cost option or a Beal Starmon and only kill like 1 or 2 things. Transcendent Sword. I did throw the Transcendent Sword in here at a 4 of, though. It is difficult to get it off the Geogramon alone, but Beal Starmon can play it. It is a 7 cost option, and that's what her thing is when playing it, you can play a 7 cost option. Now, again, you have to be able to meet its color requirements, and that's what's so great about the Gwalt Schwarmer and Happy Bullet Showering, is because you can play them and ignore their color requirements when you have the Beal Starmon. But Transcendent Sword's still really good. If you have a defeat on field, all that sort of thing. Now, again, I do think this is the weaker build out of all the ones I made, but I think it's a lot of fun. The red one I think has a great amount of viability if you want to go with red. But I think this is just going to be the better one, simply because I think the issue is the Tamers ratio here. Is I've got 4 Tamers to be able to play off, essentially, we'll go ahead and bump up this Ultimate Flare here. Play 8 options off of this. However, if you look at the second build we have here, we have 4 Tamers to play 12 options. So, that's a 33% increase on cards that we're trying to activate with still only the same amount of cards on field or in the deck to potentially play them. So I think this is a little bit better. A whole lot of recovery. Wyvern's Breath is a yellow, and it pops the same as others that we have here. So I think that's really great. Is that yellow has some good removal cards instead of yellow being only our recovery and having to rely solely on another color to get those board control elements to it. So this is still going to be, I think, my end all be all of what I prefer to play going forward with security control. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you would, please like the video and subscribe. Just a little bit of help goes a super long ways. It helps the channel out tremendously, gets my videos out there, gets them seen. And if you really, really want to support the channel, check out the links in the description below. I'll have a link for my Patreon, which is displayed right here. You can get access to my Discord server that I have, as well as you can get the memory markers that we've had. These are just a few of my favorites from the past that we've had. The current one, Impmon's baby, as well as Gabumon's baby as well, Sunomon and Yamon. These guys are super adorable. I definitely love them so much. And every month a new one changes out, so make sure you check that out. As well as we have our new playmats. This is why I recreated this video. It's because our playmats are here finally, and they are super cool. I alternate between the black and white every single month for whoever wants to support this tier, as well as I have a tier just higher than that, so that way you don't also have to lose out on a memory marker. You can get both the memory marker and the playmat just in case you want both. Super awesome support from everyone that has supported in the past and who will support in the future. You guys are awesome. Also, if you want to check out my merch, my Teespring link is in the description below for that. We've got the shirts that I wear on the channel that has the logo across. I love when I see people representing my merch in public. It is like one of the coolest feelings I've ever had in my entire life. Very, very awesome. As well as phone cases for you people that love Digimon like so much like I do. A friend of mine custom made all these to fit these specific phone cases themselves. So the prices are a little bit higher just because I have to pay her back, as well as make a little tiny bit of profit because of how much, unfortunately, they take for their cut for Teespring. But like I said, if you can't do any of that, please just like the video and subscribe to the channel. Every time we hit a new mile marker for subscriptions, I give out free merch of all different types. 2000K, I think we're doing one of the playmat giveaways. So definitely be subscribed and ready for when that comes.